There's a classic folktale about a man who turned one tiny piece of straw into a fortune, turning trash into gold and somehow making it worth more than anyone ever thought possible. It's a lot like that, about a man who got tossed aside as worthless, then rose up and snatched everything the world had waiting for him. Takaya bolts for his life, ragged breaths tearing through his lungs as demon wolf-like monsters hunt him down. He's totally freaking out, stumbling through the alien woods with zero weapon and zero plan. Like he's not cut out for fighting at all, he yells for help, certain something is about to rip him apart. Right when the beasts are about to strike, a blinding flash explodes, vaporizing every last one of them in the blink of an eye. Just as his saviors finally show up, his classmates, marching in behind their class president, relief never hits Takaya's heart because their eyes don't care, they sneer. The president leans over, asks if he's okay with a voice soaked in condescension, then grins and goes, "I thought you could at least hunt kobolds, didn't know you were this weak." Takaya can only choke out an apology, confessing the monsters scare him to death, and the president just shakes his head. "You're pathetic," he snaps, turning his back on him. "Hurry up, we're going back." Back at their ragtag camp, they haul in the fruits of their hunt like trophies. The other students roar for the president, thrilled he made it out alive, but Takaya's humiliation won't quit. He gets shoved toward the huge boar carcass to start processing the meat like, "That's all you're good for." One of them sneers, and the message is clear: don't you dare slack off. Later, the president slams everyone together for a massive announcement, reminding them that it's been a full month since their bus got wrecked and dumped them here, in a world that won't let them go. They're done with Japan, and they're not even on Earth anymore. They got yanked out of their world and dumped into a whole new one, like reality got ripped apart. Their only real lifeline, most of them have awakened special powers, some shot up to insane strength, while others can cast magic, healing allies or blasting enemies in the blink of an eye. In this brutal new world, where survival is the only rule, your worth gets decided by how much power you can unleash. And that's when the president's speech snaps into something sinister. He jabs a finger straight at Takaya Nagami, then spits out that one accusation. He's useless, a no-skill freeloader who's bleeding the crowd's precious resources dry. With a smile that screams twist, he declares a modern, democratic vote, an all-or-nothing decision on whether they kick Nagami out of their group. The verdict hits like a thunderclap. People snap to their feet, shouting for his exile. The president grins, and with an overwhelming majority, you're thrown out. But the torment doesn't end. He scrambles to gather his meager stuff, and a few of the class bullies pounce on him. They tell him straight up, getting banned doesn't give him a free pass to dodge his chores. They yanked him back to that reeking monster corpse and shoved him into more brutal butchering, all while they sneered that he's got zero useful talent. Takaya doesn't throw a punch. He never learned how. All he's ever been good at is the grimy, thankless chores nobody else wants to touch. While he's working, his knife strikes something hard, and he yanks a shimmering crystal from the beast's core. The president jerks his head up, stunned, and blurts, "What in the name of God is that?" Takaya clocks it from a past trip to that village, and the moment he does, he realizes, this is a magic stone. Before he can even blink, one of the bullies yanks it straight out of his hand. "Give it to me." He shouts, and then the president steps in, not to save Takaya, but to shut the bully down. "Stop picking on him," he orders, and then he adds, "Cooley." Just like that, Cooley's not one of their classmates anymore. Then the president slides up to Takaya with a syrupy, nauseating grin and, acting like some merciful savior, shoves a tiny farewell gift at him, dismantling knives and a measly bit of money, before roaring, "Get the hell out of here." Takaya is on his knees begging, but the president won't budge. He swears that exiling Takaya will force the class to bond through the sacrifice and somehow make them stronger, and it's sick, self-serving logic that crushes Takaya completely. And so he's thrown out with just a tiny bag and the clothes on his back, walking away from everyone he's ever known. Some people stare with pity, others spit contempt, while tears rip down his face, and then a gentle voice cuts through the noise, calling his name. It's Mizukami-san, the rare classmate who actually showed him kindness, because she slipped the magic stone back from that bully and hands it to him like, "It's yours, you can use it to grab a little extra money." She leans in and tells him, "When the storm settles, you can come back," pushing hope into his chest. Takaya slaps on a smile, but he can't ignore the truth. Once this door closes, there's no turning back, and not everyone will treat him as kindly as she does. Alone again, he grips the stone like it's his lifeline, the last piece of his old life, the one thing that never changed between worlds, and he can't find a single place to belong. Figuring he's not getting long either way, he drifts into the nearest town and blows his last coins before time runs out. This world hits him like a wall of alien weirdness, demi-humans everywhere, languages he can't decode, and when he finally grabs alcohol for the first time, memories of his old classmates sneering, "Virgin," come roaring back. Before he can even react, a pack of Lamia prostitutes swarms him, but the sight panics him so hard he bolts. He stumbles out to the edge of town, utterly alone, and finally snaps, bursting into tears. He grabs a swig from the bottle he just bought, then spits it out like it's poison, grimacing in pure disgust. He froze, staring at that dismantling knife, and one brutal thought slammed into his head: I want to die. The cruel words from his classmates won't leave his head, telling him to just disappear, calling him gross, and insisting he'll be alone forever. But when he finally opens his eyes, death hasn't claimed him, because a stunning blonde girl is staring down at him. A bunch of adventurers encircle him, laughing like it's a baffling joke, not cruelty. You tried to kill yourself with a dismantling knife. One of them snorts, "Don't worry, this thing won't kill anyone." Takaya just stares, completely stunned. He couldn't even finish ending his own life right. When they see his despair, the whole group turns kind on the spot. "Come on, let's ditch this stinking place," their leader snaps, and then they swear they'll stay with him until morning. The group blurts out their names: Roar the archer, Dyke the knight, the captain, and Meryl the priestess, and when it's Takaya's turn, he calmly drops his name right back. As they trudge through the barren wasteland, Meryl turns to him and demands to know what kind of work he used to do for his old party. He tells them, "I was just hustling, taking odd jobs, and even carrying the prey my friends hunted." Myrille's eyes pop wide. "Fabrication?" she asks. To Takaya, it's just another grind, but she hits back that making fabricated things is one of the most respected jobs out there. Roar breaks it down, saying fabricators are the crew that turn monster corpses, plants, and minerals into priceless materials. His gaze snaps to the magic stone in Takaya's hands, then he just freezes. "Don't act clueless with me," he says, voice deadly serious. "That's a level 4 magic stone. A beginner adventurer shouldn't even be able to touch something like that." Takaya stumbles through his explanation, saying he got it straight from the heart of a raging wild boar bull. The whole party's stunned, because that magic stone is the demon beast's crystallized blood, and pulling out even a single one takes mind-blowing processing skill, like a level 3 ability, or it'll dissolve before you can blink. No way a beginner like Takaya could pull out a rare, top-tier red magic stone. That's unheard of. Then it hits them: he's not worthless at all. This kid knows nothing about what he can do, but the potential is absolutely massive, and Dyke just can't help thinking, if you can handle what you've got, you can even take on a dragon. Because Takaya's talent has never been tested for real, they decide to take him straight to their guild, so his abilities can finally get measured. Mariel leans in and tells him their guild is packed with real talent, people just like him, promising they'll help him uncover the full power he's meant to have. Suddenly, hope ignites in Takaya's eyes. His classmates' cruel words slam into his head: "Not worth a damn, banned from the party." Then he glares at these strangers, drops to his knees, and begs, "I want to see what I'm really capable of. If this talent is real, please let me join your guild." As his tears finally changed into hope, they rush toward him and pull him in with open arms. Roar grins and hooks an arm around him. "That's right, you're one of us now." They march him straight into a gigantic, roaring port city, loud, crowded, and nothing like he's ever seen before. Takaya can't even find words, because the world is so vast and bright, not like that tiny, cruel place he was trapped in before. For the first time, freedom hits him like a punch. He finally sees how stupid he was to let some so-called class chain him up. They slam into their guild hall, the Sea Rat, and the place feels like it's ready to go off. The party gets introduced to the receptionists, and one of them points them straight toward the guildmaster's office. They stormed in, guns up and voices blazing, and shouted that they were back. They go to report in, and bam, their boss, Rudra, is a giant mountain of a man, getting squashed under a woman wearing a pig mask. It's so weird and hilarious it feels unreal. Once the session wraps up, Roar hands Rudra the red magic stone, and the guild master can't help but lean in. How does a kid so new manage to snag something that rare? He's hooked, and he decides to put Rudra's power to the test. They pull out a crazy special artifact called tree paper. One look, and it reveals the hidden talents you've been hiding all along. Takaya places his hand on it, and his heart jackhammers with hope and fear, still sure he has nothing to give. But the second his fingertips meet the parchment, everything shifts. It erupts in a blinding flash. Everybody jolts and gasps, because that paper doesn't just show a branch or a few leaves. It unveils a massive, sprawling root system that feels like it's swallowing the entire world. And just like that, the guild master is frozen in shock. "Kaya," he blurts, voice trembling, "you've got the root, you can master them all." Then he stares at the endless production and processing systems of this world like he's seeing the future crack wide open. The kid they banished as worthless turns out to have the ultimate crafting talent. This guy can learn how to master anything. Real smiles never come easy, but Takaya just walked through. Then the guildmaster lit up. beaming like crazy, and saying their guild is lucky to have a man with potential so huge it feels immeasurable. For Takaya, this is where his real life finally ignites. He looks back on the old him, the one who crushed his own dreams by never even taking a shot, quitting before he ever began. But now everything clicks. He sets his sights on one thing and clenches his fist like he means it, and I've decided I'm going to live in this world as a fabricator. The whole guild cranks up a wild, massive party to celebrate their brand new member. For the first time, Takaya finally feels like he truly belongs. He's surrounded by people who light up to have him around, seeing his real worth, and the best part, he's done being the punchline. Now he's the center of attention, the guild's next big star. He chugs drinks, cracks up laughing, and throws down with his brand new friends until the whole night's gone. He jerks awake the next morning on the balcony as the sun climbs over the city skyline. He jolts up with a calm smile, thinking, I've never had this much fun with friends before. But just as he's about to enjoy the calm, elegant heels glide into his view, like boom, you're awake, and a sultry voice purrs, yeah. He snaps his gaze up and freezes. There stands a stunning, powerhouse woman he's never seen before, and she tells him, Rudra filled me in on everything about you. Before he even opens his mouth to ask her name, she whips up her foot and launches a sharp kick, sending him tumbling off the balcony like a meteor. He crashes toward the ground, screaming like his soul is on fire. As he drops, her voice crashes into his ears, because having a rare gift doesn't hand you free time, not even for a second. If you want to be a fabricator in our guild, Takaya Nagami, from today on, you're my disciple. Right when Takaya is trying to wrap his head around this new reality, a breathtaking woman drops into view like a force of nature, radiating insane power, and she introduces herself as Lady Ever. Before she can even react, Guildmaster Mario suddenly barrels into her with a joyful tackle hug, gushing that the sage has just spotted a seriously promising talent in Takaya. Lady Ever is basically a walking apocalypse, an absurdly high-level wizard, one of the most powerful people on the planet, and now she's zeroing in on our boy personally. The Guildmaster tells him Lady Ever, Rudra's old friend, can't bear to watch talent rot, and she's offered to train him herself. Takaya is knocked speechless. He really thought he'd finally step into a calm new life, just him and his friends from the brothel, training on his own. But his friends clock the truth in a heartbeat. This is a once-in-a-lifetime shot. They shove the comparison in his face. Lady Ever went through the exact same thing, sprinting from the wreckage of her past. They beg him with shaking voices not to waste the talent they lost. Tears stream down Rudra's face as he pleads, don't repeat their mistakes, don't turn away, grab this chance. Their trust in him hits like a wave, too strong to ignore. Takaya's resolve gets stolen by that faith, so he steps forward and vows he'll train until he can stand on his own, then repay every last one of them. And with one final heartfelt, I'm off, he accepts the apprenticeship. He and Lady Ever basically vanish in a flash, sprinting off toward his brand new life. In the blink of an eye, they skid right up to a massive Gothic mansion, all of it looming under the moonlight, and this terrifying place is the Forest of the Sage, his new home and his new training ground. Lady Ever greets him with a wicked grin and tells him the door's slammed shut, no turning back now. Even though she looks intimidating, Takaya's fired up, locked in, and ready to charge headfirst into whatever challenge she throws. He's scoring his own room at last, something he only ever dared to dream about, and inside, it's absolutely stunning, way grander than he could have imagined. He chooses the room that looks clean and perfect, then yanks the door open and bam, a whole horde of zombies shambles in front of him, and yeah, the room's already taken. Panicked, he slams the door shut and barrels toward the last open room. His hand hovers over the handle when Lady Ever strolls in with a casual warning. Her other apprentice is a girl, so he'd better not get any ideas. It's already too late. He rips the door wide open and spots a girl right in the middle of changing, his brain going dead as pervert, gets screamed at him and a fist slams into his face. Stunned and sporting a fresh black eye, Takaya gets an official, awkward introduction to his brand new housemate. This is Tubuki Baru, an ice-cold swordswoman from some faraway land, and she makes it painfully clear. If he keeps acting like this, she'll step in herself and end him. With a frosty glare, she tells him her room is the only one in the whole mansion that isn't cursed or haunted, so yeah, he has zero choice. Lady Ever tries to play peacemaker, but Tsubukibaru shuts her down cold. He refuses point-blank to even shake her hand, and she wastes no time showing she trusts no weak man like him. Takaya, crushed and defeated, blurts out, so where am I supposed to sleep if every room's taken? Lady Ever beams and says her room's huge, then right on the spot, his training kicks off with him scrubbing the entire mansion clean. And just like that, his brutal training finally kicks into full gear. But it's nothing like he imagined, just one non-stop grind of cleaning, shopping, laundry, and cooking, over and over and over. Days melt into weeks, and all he's got left is one never-ending pile of chores at home. A whole month slams by, and Takaya's panic starts to rise, because he's gotten zero real training, just nonstop practice fighting off every temptation that dares to pull him off course. Right when hope starts slipping away, Lady Ever finally calls him and Tabuki Baru in, then she declares they're ready to jump into the next level. It's finally time for their first real training, an all-out survival challenge deep in the forest. His bag is loaded with food and medicine, and he's practically vibrating with excitement, like he can't wait to dive into the real training. Lady Ever slams down two big goals. First, make Ryua chug a double high potion, and second, forge himself a brand new high-level knife. Takaya panics. He doesn't know the first thing about blacksmithing. Then Tuba Kibaru steps in, coming from a famous line of blacksmiths, and her job is to train him through the challenge. She's not remotely impressed. She straight up warns him that if he slows her down, she'll kill him. They burst out into the ruined, twisted wasteland, creeping around the mansion. And before even 5 minutes pass, Takaya gets nearly swallowed whole by a terrifying plant monster. He can't move, just screams as it closes in, until Tuba Kibaru calmly slices the thing straight in half and saves him. Then she glares at him like he's pathetic, wondering what kind of useless man she got stuck with. She leans in and asks if he's got any real special talents, and he admits that for the last month he's basically been drowning in herb knowledge, memorizing everything he can and obsessing over crafting. He drops a bombshell ingredient for the antidote, lentil moss, which can also wreak paralysis and brew sleep poison, and once the sun starts to sink, Tuba Kibaru says it's time to make camp. That night a messenger bird swoops in with a letter meant for Tsubaki Baru, but while she's distracted, Takaya digs into the rations they brought and whips up this insanely good meal, so good that Tsubaki snaps back at first, until the smell steals her resistance. She takes one bite and freezes, because it's insanely good. Takaya is just relieved to finally be useful, but his booming excitement gets him a brutal "be quiet" from the stoic swordswoman. Suddenly the stew pot erupts, flames blasting out in a furious burst. From the pitch black, two glowing eyes stare them down, right out of the dark. A hulking, many-eyed monster smashes into their campsite, and right on the spot, Tuba Kibaru grabs Takaya and shoves him hard, yelling at him to sprint to the mansion. She yanks her sword free and slams into the monster with a ferocious, no-holds-barred clash. The beast roared with terrifying power and with one brutal swipe, launched her flying through the air. The second she touches down, Takaya spots it. Horns are bursting from her head. Tsubaki Baru isn't fully human. She's something unreal, beyond human limits, and when she finally lets loose, she smashes that power straight into the beast. The monster pins her to the ground, and she screams at Takaya for not running away. Right when it's about to land the final blow, a massive white wolf crashes in out of nowhere and wrecks the moment, saving Tsubaki Baru. The wolf gets slammed by the damage and drops hard, and with a flicker, it transforms into a young, fever-hot girl. Takaya spots the symptoms instantly from all his studying, because Glenbenny is a rare poison, and he knows an antidote has to exist. But Tsubakibaru slams the brakes on him. She insists it's just the law of nature. The weak get weeded out, and she was tossed aside once for being too weak, so she refuses to interfere. Her words slammed into Takaya like a punch, and suddenly he was remembering every soul who'd handed him a second chance. Rudra, Dike, the crew from Sirat, and now Lady Ever, even Tsubakibaru. He couldn't just stand there. He roared that he wanted to give this girl the same break he got, told Tsubakibaru to do her part, and made it clear he was jumping in to help. He spots the girl huddled alone beside the fire, shaking as cold crawls over her. He's lived that lonely nightmare himself, and now he's blazing with resolve, telling Tubakibaru they have to hunt down the ingredients for the medicine. He steps up and introduces himself to Akin, the wolf girl, and when Tsubakibaru finally clocks his grit, she grudgingly relents, agreeing to help. With everything he knows in his head, Takaya snatches up lentil moss and more herbs in a rush, then whips a double high potion infused with detox power, and the first challenge gets wiped out far sooner than anyone expects. But here's the nightmare. Akin is out cold, and she can't swallow the medicine. Tubakibaru spots that giant wolf and goes straight for her one plan, while Takaya locks onto a much more brutal idea. He brushes off Tubakibaru's protests, calls it a medical procedure, and presses the potion to their lips, mouth to mouth. Next morning he jolts awake to Akin all snuggled up to him, sweetly calling him master, and Tubakibaru's utterly baffled. Akin tells him, "You saved me, and now I'm not alone anymore, I'm free." Then her smile fades as she adds, "But I don't want freedom, I want to stay with you." Takaya's cheeks go red, but he steps up warm, steady, and takes charge of her, naming her Meek, a title he somehow crafts out of pure creativity. Now that Meek was finally on their side, the team tore off to track down iron ore to forge his knife. Suddenly, Meek catches a whiff Akin's scent. Meek swears it's not cheating, it's her way of repaying the favor, then she tears off at full speed, dragging them straight to the source. She hustles them into a cave, and inside, they stop dead as an enormous glowing sky stone lights up the whole place. Around it stretches a whole ocean of top-tier iron ore. Thanks to Mick, that boring grind turned into a jackpot. Takai is over the moon because now he can finally forge up a storm and train his blacksmithing to the max. Once they've gathered the materials, they jump straight into action. Then Tasoba Kabaru finally clicks and realizes why their master paired her with a weak man. He fought through a trial using power she never even had. She finally gets it. His real power isn't chaos, it's kindness. With Mick backing her up and her skill leading the way, Takaya forged a jaw-dropping, top-tier knife, and now both missions are finally done. He shoots Akin a quick thank you, and shyly can't help but admit he was impressed with himself too. They march back to the mansion, triumphant, and then Lady Ever's already there, calm and smiling, because she's been watching every single move they made. She's praising them like it's a victory lap, then she slams the bombshell. Takaya, for his very first official job, has been picked to join the Gold Guild. After a brutal, soul-tiring journey, Takaya and his crew finally stumble back into Bay Road City, right back where the streets are loud and alive, and as he marches through the crowd, he can't shake the feeling that this place is eerily familiar, like it's mirroring his hometown from his past life. But just as he starts to relax, Mick cuts him off and points out one thing: he's nowhere near dressed for a formal meeting with a guildmaster. She hits him with a blunt, "You stink," orders him to change clothes, and leaves him cringing with pure embarrassment. A short while later, Takaya bursts back into view, rocking brand new adventurer's gear, looking stronger and way more confident than before. The girls stare, impressed out of their minds, and you can bet he's glowing with pride too. Akin hooks a thumb toward the sheath at her hip, and a Shiro snaps in his mind. This is the blade he forged for her. Then she fires off the warning, "Never let your craft go," and he clings to her words like they're his lifeline. As they head toward the Sea Rat Guild, everyone's in top form, fresh-faced, energized, and ready to crash straight into whatever comes next. At the door, Mario-san pops in like sunshine, grinning and welcoming them back, but her very first question snaps straight to where Dyke is, sending the guildmaster into an instant, sweaty panic. While the awkward silence hangs there, Mario smirks and teases Takaya, asking why she's come back dragging two new lovers behind her. Then Takaya only wishes him luck on his first real job, totally blind to the chaos about to explode. Inside, Takaya finally lays eyes on his clients, and the second Mickey clocks them, danger flashes in her gut, her instincts screaming that these people are trouble. And she's not wrong. Those two figures are wrapped head to toe, faces swallowed by the dark, and all you can see are a pair of glowing, inhuman eyes. Mariel lays it all bare. This isn't some casual meeting. These clients are top-tier demons from the demon realm, tied to a crew called the Enchantress. Since humans and demons are still at war, every second here feels like a loaded trigger. Then one of the cloaked figures finally speaks up, asking straight out if Takaya is the one they nominated. The smaller girl yanks back her hood, and bam, there's a young demon with huge horns staring him down. Then she smirks, "So you're a level 9 creator," as her eyes take his measure. Mumaru introduces herself, then nods at her taller, cloaked caretaker, Letty, before she wastes a second, bows hard, and begs him to forge a brand new magic spear for her. Tears streamed down her face as desperation roared in her voice, and she begged him, if he can't forge her a new weapon, they're going to kill her. A flashback rips the curtain off Mumaru's secret. She's a princess, and her family guards the Trident of Dark, a legendary weapon, and now, in just 1 month, she's expected to unveil it at a royal ceremony. Then another noble woman sneered at her, claiming that if she left the spear lying around, something would happen to it. In sheer panic, Mumaru bolted to check it, and her worst nightmare hit hard. The legendary trident's tip had snapped off clean. Back in the present, Letty snaps that their top fabricator rage quit, leaving the demon realm with nobody who can even touch repairs on that artifact, so their only shot is to hunt down a human with the same deadly skill. So how'd they track Takaya down? Out of everyone, it was the town drunk, Dyke. He'd been bragging for days about a level 9 fabricator he swore he knew at the Sea Rat Guild. Mikay erupts in fury when she realizes this whole life-or-death job is built on a drunkard's rambling, and she snaps at Takaya about how insane the risk is. Then she steps back and leaves the call in his hands. Mumaru sweet-talked the deal, swearing he'd give him OO and anything he wanted, money, rare metals, or even herself. Letty doubles down on their plea, saying that spear isn't just equipment, it's the princess's future, the one thing worth giving everything for. And when Kaya sees how desperate they are, she realizes this isn't some ordinary job anymore, it's a life hanging in the balance. He nods. Mumaru explodes with joy, shouting that he's a god of creation, but Takaya snaps the moment in half because he's got one bombshell confession. He isn't a level 9 fabricator yet, and Mumaru's smile collapses into crushing, helpless despair. I'm not some genius, Takaya, coolly shoots back. I don't have some secret gift, I just fight with the cards I've been dealt. He spills his plan, no brand new spear from the ground up. He's going to fix the broken one instead, welding it back together with that weird skystone Meek found earlier. Letty eyed the repair with razor-sharp doubt, grilling, can something this simple really hold strong? But Takaya's confidence is rock solid. He smirks and claims that with his knowledge, he could build spaceships that haul humans into orbit, and yeah, fixing a spear, that's nothing. He demands a forge, and the guildmaster beams as he ushers him down into the basement. Takaya freezes in shock. Right in front of him sits a brand new, state-of-the-art workshop, built from the ground up just for him. The guildmaster tells him the whole crew pulled together. Meek sold off some of her dresses, Mario scraped together loans, and he even pawned a priceless family heirloom. This is your home now, he declares to him. Overcome with emotion, Takaya suddenly feels something he's never even imagined before, a brand new kind of sense. Takaya clenches his resolve and kicks off the careful, delicate process. He snatches up the shattered spear. He raises the beer and stares at the fracture. No clean snap from time. This one was smashed by sheer force. That cracks everything open. Now the repair has to be tougher than the original. Then he drops another wild instruction. Mix molten skystone with plain lentil moss. Mick fires back, insisting it'll wreck the rare stuff, but Akin trusts him. No doubt, no questions. He flicked the moss into the crucible and let it sizzle to life. Takaya lays out his crazy philosophy. Even something pointless, like moss, can turn into something extraordinary once you see it from a new angle, like him. Then he snaps his skill on, picturing molecular bonds as he slams the materials together. In a blinding flash, the spear reforms, whole again, and roars with raw, unstoppable power. It's finished, he declares, and snaps for Mumiru to pour her magic into it. The second she swings that spear, a raging blast of energy explodes out of it, so insane it turns into a towering spirit fox that appears outside the guild. The spear hits dead on perfect. Mumiru blasts out a raging wave of magic, tears of pure joy streaming down her face as she thanks Takaya for pulling her back from death. The repair isn't flawless, but it's enough to trick her mother, so Mamoru perks up thrilled and can't wait to ask what the reward is. Takaya's horrified, but Meek leans in and hisses, "This is just business, squeeze every last advantage you can." Surprisingly, Mumaru nods, shaken to the core, but her spine stays straight as she signs on, determined to guard her family's name. Suddenly, Takaya feels this weird, suffocating pressure crushing down inside his mind. Meek's voice keeps ringing in his head, dangling the promise of power, wealth, status, and revenge right in front of him like he can grab it all. She leans in and asks him, "So what kind of fabricator are you gonna become?" After a beat of brutal self-reflection, Takaya finally cracks the truth. He doesn't crave power for himself at all. He wants to rescue the ones drowning in suffering and pull back the happiness so many have already lost. He couldn't shake the crushing loneliness of his old life. With all his heart, he declares that he'll rip apart the cruel survival of the fittest system for good. Then Mike explodes into laughter, because it's all a setup, a plain old prank just to watch him react. She lets out a breath of relief, waves the demons off, and orders them to return later with the money. Mamoru leans in and thanks Takaya from the bottom of his heart. Then Takaya crumples to the ground, utterly wiped out by that brutal mental and emotional storm. Letty blurts out that she'll stay behind and work, as Takaya's maid, to cover their payment. Meek's jaw drops. She never thought the proud demon would actually say yes. Letty just straight up says she can spot talent a mile away, and she's sure Takaya is the real deal. And to make her point crystal clear, she leans in and smashes him with a long, burning kiss, instantly detonating an uproar that shakes the entire guild. Right then, Muriel bursts in, practically vibrating with excitement, because she's finally about to set off on an adventure with him, only to be hit by a full-blown chaotic scene, and her bright, cheerful smile instantly turns into a flatline. And just like that, Takaya's big official debut as a fabricator fizzled out, because he started frantically trying to clear up a massive misunderstanding with a very, very angry Muriel. Across town, in a loud tavern, a pair of adventurers can't stop talking, how the Sea Rat Guild's new potions are blowing everyone's minds, and who this genius fabricator behind the magic really is. Huddled nearby in a cloak, the figure listens like every word matters. Then the disguise drops. It's Harukawa Mei, class president from Takaya's old world, and a shadow from his past has just slithered right back into his life. Back at the Sea Rat Guild Hall, the whole place crackles with energy. cheers burst out of the guildmaster as he can barely contain his happiness, shouting that Takaya's potions are flying off the shelves faster than they can restock them. Because our boys busted their butts, that one struggling guild is finally thriving again, yet not everyone's cheering. Letty and Meryl stand off to the side with worry in their eyes, and Letty tells Meryl, half joking, not to push Takaya too far, threatening to castrate him on the spot if her apprentice so much as gets a scratch. The guildmaster lets out a heavy sigh, admitting Takaya's work has swallowed him whole, so deep he's basically forgotten how to eat or sleep, while we flash through him nonstop, grinding, mixing, and crafting like he's got a wild new purpose and nothing else in his mind. This isn't just a job to him, it's the first time he's felt like he truly matters. Right then, the rest of the party charges in, all buzzing about the chaos. The guildmaster's eyes light up with a plan. He points straight at Merle and the others and declares a brand new quest for them, perfect bait to yank Takaya out of his workshop. Mario spots Takaya in his workshop, packed wall-to-wall with shelves of finished potions, and he snaps his gaze up, frazzled but grinning, while he drops the final finishing touches on his newest creation. She softly reminds him of his promise. Back when he'd become independent, he'd form a party with her, and for a split second, Takaya's face twists with confusion as he starts to protest that he still has work to finish. Before he can even get a word out, the other girls swarm him, clinging on with bright, unstoppable determination, and they announce, straight up, that this is a personal quest from the guild master himself, so he has no choice but to gear up. Later on, the new party winds through the roaring streets of the port town, and one of the male guild members stares, utterly stunned, because Takaya is suddenly boxed in by a whole squad of girls. Another adventurer, Roar, suddenly erupts in comical rage. He realizes they forgot to invite him and his buddy, then he storms off in a huff, while Takaya gets stuck right in the middle, looking totally overwhelmed by all the sudden attention. Right when it hits him, Mario snatches his arm and hauls him forward with a bright grin. "Come on, Takaya," she says, and he can only blink in shock as she drags him along. Of course, this simple outing is anything, but because right behind the scenes, Letty and the other girls are crouched out of sight, spying like hawks, while Letty lifts a sketch of Mariel and reveals that the talisman around Takaya's neck is letting them see everything. With a smug grin, she announces it's her master duty to keep tabs on her apprentice's first date, like it's mission critical. The others don't buy it for a second, but Letty won't budge, even if her logic is wildly off. As Takaya and Merle weave through the market, that prickling feeling hits, someone's watching them. He whips his eyes around and spots other girls trying way too hard to play it cool, and his face snaps tight with annoyance. They duck into a cafe to finally talk, but even in there the chaperones stay on their toes, lurking in the background, trying to disappear into the crowd. Takaya stews in irritation, while Mariel keeps blissfully oblivious to the whole mess. Trying to tune out the crowd, Takaya cracks open for a moment and tells Mariel he wants to see the ocean. Then he adds, "There was one back home too," and you can feel that connection hit like a wave. The two of them duck into a quiet corner on the rooftop, staring down at the port below, and as their friend's chaos finally fades, a breath of real peace settles in. Seeing him push himself too hard, May softly nudges him. She's right here, ready to step in the moment he needs help. Takaya flips the whole conversation, pushing her to answer why she ever chose to become a priestess in the first place. Mario gazes over the city and tells her that he's always admired the priestesses who lift the poor and heal the injured. Her drive is clean and simple, built purely to do good. Takaya stares at her in total awe and blurts out that she's genuinely amazing. She shrugs off the praise, insisting he's overthinking it, like she was just guided along by kind people. To prove her point, she drags him straight down into the city's lower districts, far from the roaring marketplace, where people scramble to survive, and the ones without powerful skills are fighting just to make it through the day. Right here, Mariel's bright smile finally shatters. She admits she's worn out, says saving Takaya was just luck, and admits the truth. She can't save everyone who's hurting. "No, that's not true," Akaya snaps, conviction blazing in his voice. Then he brings her back to the day she found him after he'd slit his own wrists in despair, and she still chose to heal him, to save him. He leans in and tells her that every time he sees those scars, he's dragged straight back to the past, back when he was a slave, forced to carry out brutal orders for his old party leader. His voice shakes as he finally bares his soul. "Who am I? Am I just a fake or still trapped as a slave? I'm nothing." Mario stares at him, her heart breaking for his pain, and she starts to say he doesn't know her and that his picture of her is wrong. Then Takaya's whole body snaps tense. He slams into her, shoving her out of the way at the exact second. A massive burst of energy explodes where she'd been standing. The blast detonates with a brutal roar, blasting them both through the air like they weigh nothing. As the dust settles, a figure crawls out of the smoke, Kaya Nagami, grinning with that cruel, familiar smile. It's been a long time, he sneers, his words oozing pure malice. Mario's heart drops as Kaya clocks him, and before anyone can even blink, Kaya strikes again. A surge of raw energy punches straight into Merle, smashing her into the wall, and Pekia roars her name as the shockwave hurls him backward. Her name is the last thing he manages to say before the world shuts off and turns black. When he snaps awake, the world is pitch black and freezing. He jerks himself upright, chains clattering around his neck, and he instantly realizes where he is. A wave of pure terror crashes over him, like something that can't be escaped. He's back in that cave, yes, the very one where his classmates ditched him, standing amid the piles of treasure they just left behind. Look at this, someone sneers through the air, and it's Harukawa, his old class president, towering over him like he's nothing, dripping contempt. Takaya demands if he really stole it all, and Harukawa only laughs. He launches into a scorching rant, claiming Earth was supposed to hand him a sure-win life, rich, educated, set for greatness, then insisting this world snatched it all away from him. He yanks Takaya up by the hair and snarls that he's taking back the success he was promised. Harukawa admits he's heard the wild rumors about Takaya's brand new talents, then stops demanding Takaya's banishment and orders him back into class, right now, to use that power and start contributing. Takaya grips the talisman at his throat and acts like nothing's wrong, bluffing his way through. He insists his master sees everything, and that help is already on the way. But Harukawa leans in close and scoffs, telling you to open your eyes. You've got no family in this world. Your only family is your classmates. More shapes crawl out of the shadows, another classmate with a pack of rough bandits. Their leader grins and lays it out. They're using Takaya to double-cross the sea rats and steal everything they've got. Harukawa leans in and says he's heard rumors of other rare skill users in the guild. Then he grins, determined to turn every one of them into his slaves, starting with that glow-up kid right now. He leans in close, twisting the knife, and smashes Takaya with memories from school, worthless, never popular, never athletic, and not even from a good family. But as Harukawa keeps talking, Takaya's fear crumbles into something sharper, cold, unshakable resolve. He's thrown back to the sea rats, the very first place he ever felt like he mattered, and now he vows he won't fall apart again. He locks eyes with Harukawa and fires back. If I'm just a pebble, what am I? What's a sea rat? Then he snaps that they're the ones who watched his talent up close, and the people who treat humans like toys will never, ever get it. Enraged by his defiance, Harukawa snatches a nearby chain. So you want to test it, huh? He sneers, and then in a blur, he whips it through the air. The cave erupts as Takaya's arm is hacked off clean at the wrist. He raises the talisman, and a sadistic grin cracks across his face. So you can see through it too, right, huh? He taunts, while Takaya's screams tear through the air. Takaya crumples to the ground, gripping the stump of his arm in agony, while Harukawa towers over him, pure evil on his face. President Harukawa, you've fallen so far, Takaya wheezes through the pain. Bandits snap into a tight ring around him like vultures, and their leader snarls that he better spill the Sirat's weaknesses. Arakawa throws out a disgusting deal, tell them, and he'll take care of Takaya like a pet. Takaya's shattered, bleeding, battered, and utterly alone. Even with despair crushing him, one name cuts through the dark, Mario. He remembers her finding him on the roadside when he had nothing left and no one to turn to, and how she still helped. That memory drives him, then fire snaps alive in his eyes. I'll never hand the sea rats to bandits like you. He roars, and finally he grins. It's my turn to return the favor. The bandit leader snaps, negotiations are done. He roars, goodbye Nagami, and swings his massive axe like it's meant to end everything. But right as the blade starts to drop, a lightning-fast blur slams in and blocks it. A giant spectral wolf towers over Takaya, and Mario, bruised but still standing, backs her up, eyes blazing with a terrifying glow. She stares at Harukawa's bandits and breathes, you came. Mike strode at the front, flanked by a giant ethereal wolf with glowing, righteous fury in her eyes. Then she jabbed a claw toward the stunned students and shouted, I finally found you. You're the one who kidnapped Takaya. Class President Harukawa bares his teeth and snarls back. He knows the real troublemakers are finally here. He barrels through the chaos, trying to keep his terrified lackeys from losing control, screaming at them to stay calm, because he insists they're only trying to scare us with weird, abnormal stuff, and then he snaps that this massive beast is nothing more than a dumb big dog. But Meek isn't here to talk. She whips around to her powerhouse buddy and barks, Meek-chan, handle these guys. I'm going to save Takaya. Even with fear clawing at their hearts, Harukawa's followers huddle together, gritting their teeth, convinced they can crush their enemies just by sheer numbers. The leadership already has the answer, and Harukawa and his second whip their heads close, whispering in panic, no way they can brawl that wolf, but if they sling any wide area magic, they'll cook their own classmates alive too. They're trapped with no escape. Meanwhile, Mariel slips around to where a brute is guarding Takaya. Then the thug spots her, freezes in shock, and snaps that she better run, swaggering that he'll go all out and won't pull his punches just because she's a woman. Muriel's eyes go icy and her whole vibe flips. She isn't the shy priestess he remembers at all. "Try me," she warns, voice dripping with cold, "and I'll end up killing you." He's totally blindsided by the sudden confidence she unleashes. He scoffs, laughing at the absurdity of a priest, of all people, who's supposed to heal, now swaggering into murder threats, and Mariel snaps back, "But all God gave me was the talent to hurt." With fresh fire in her heart, she vows to put these skills to work so she can protect Takaya. The brute finally feels the danger and charges in head first. But his attack slams into empty air. Mariel whips past like a phantom, slips every clumsy swing, and answers with a brutal, lightning-fast kick. The thug staggers back, totally dumbfounded. He swears he hit her, but his attacks just refuse to connect. Neck, he lunges for her, but his hand snaps shut on empty air as she slips straight through him like he's not even there. He can't make sense of it. His analysis screams that her martial arts are barely average, yet no matter what he does, he can't land a single hit on her. Right when he's completely lost, she rips in with a devastating kick that launches him flipping head over heels. From the sidelines, Dyke leans in and spills the unbelievable truth to the others, grinning as he says, "That's Mariel's secret." He reveals she's got a rare gift: she can fast-forward time a tiny bit, letting her glimpse moments that haven't happened yet. As the brute lay broken on the ground, it finally hit him. Turns out the real ace of the sea rats wasn't a muscle-bound monster. It was this quiet priestess with an ability that shouldn't exist. With Eli beaten, Mario leans over him and lands one last crushing gut punch to his ego, because that's the truth. You only look strong when you're fighting someone weaker. Back at the main clash, the Great Wolf is rampaging through Harukawa's troops, shredding formation and blasting bodies flying like ragdolls. A handful of fearless students crammed the cannon into place and blasted it straight at the beast's face, point blank, like they were daring it to blink. As the explosion rattles everything, for one wild second they dare to hope, did we finally kill it? When the smoke finally thins, the wolf is standing there, untouched, unshaken, eyes blazing with pure rage. It rips the air apart with a terrifying roar, then unleashes a surge of raw energy that wipes out the last remnants of their vanguard. Panic finally shatters the class president's control. "We can't win." Then everyone bolts as their screams tear through the air. But Harukawa's ambition crushes everything human in him. He stares down his last vanguards, the tanky crew from his class. "So you want to throw our tanks away?" Harukawa, one of the horror masks, doesn't even blink, and then he hits us with his simple, brutal logic. "Those tanks will slam down as a quick wall, just long enough for the mages to incinerate the monster until it's nothing but ash." He sneers at the terrified tank, and then he just tears into "You idiots. All you've got is musclehead skills, like you're nothing but lowlifes." His cruel plan finally spilled out in the open, and everyone saw it. A girl who used to idolize him just freezes in disbelief, staring at him like she can't breathe. "I thought you said our class was supposed to be the strongest." Her voice shakes as she blurts it out. At that exact moment, Harukawa's perfect mask shatters. He crumples to his knees, sobbing, shouting, "Why am I'm supposed to be the chosen one?" Meek strides forward and her words slice like daggers. "Nobody picked you. Nobody loves you. They only stick around for your skills." She stands tall like a lighthouse, loyal to the bone, and declares, "We chose Takaya of our own free will. We'll do anything for him." As the battle raged, one meat and the rest sprinted straight to Takaya's side. His hand was mangled and his body barely held on, but he was alive. He kept apologizing, convinced he'd let everyone down, and yet they only saw one thing: a hero. "Why'd you go that far for trash like me?" he whispers while his friends swarm in, eyes blazing with devotion. "You're our hope," they say, "and nothing, not anything, can steal that from us." Dyke steps forward, and a soft smile spreads across his face. "Hey, hand it over to me," he demands. The moment he brushes Takaya's shattered hand, a warm glow surges around it like it's alive. Kaya stares in pure shock as his bones snap back and his flesh stitches itself up, and in seconds, boom, the wound vanishes like it was never there. Mickey finally spills the sea rat's biggest secret, and it hits hard. Meryl's power to fast-forward time pairs perfectly with Dyke's ability to rewind it. Dyke confesses he'd always dreamed of becoming a hulking, no-nonsense knight, until fate handed him the power of a healer instead. He and Merle were total misfits. Everyone with blessed talent like Harukawa looked at them like garbage. Takaya swallowed hard, and his voice rang out with raw emotion. "You've got a gift. You can feel what people are suffering." With his real friends all around him, Takaya finally clicks. He understands exactly where he belongs. They tell him he doesn't have to drag the whole world on his back, because that's exactly why their group exists, to lean on each other's weak spots and keep going. Blindsided by a belonging he's never felt before, Takaya crumbles, breaks into sobs, and finally collapses into a home he didn't know he was chasing. He rises like a weight Espen lifted, lets his worries drain away, and then claims his title, Kaya Nagami the Fabricator. Later, we watch Siret take in the very bandits who used to hunt her, proof that Takaya truly believes nothing, and no one is beyond fixing. But when they start counting heads, they freeze. One of their own, Minagawa, is missing. Then another member chimes in just one line, but it's her, and I swear she's doing more than fine. And she is. In the shadows, Minagawa stands shoulder to shoulder with the enemy, wearing a triumphant, cruel grin as she tears through the last moment of goodbye with the classmates she just betrayed. This was her plan from the start. She grips a weird glowing relic, eyes flashing with cold malice, and whispers, "Wait for me, Megami-kun, I'll snatch your roots with my void power." Then a terrifying, fearless laugh spills out, and the danger hits way harder than they ever expected. Takaya jolts awake, not to soft sunrise, but to a mess of a situation where his usual morning routine has been hijacked and turned into a full-blown harem chaos. He jerks back in panic, sweat drenching his forehead, still clinging to the hope it was all just a wild dream. But here's the wild part: things look way more vivid than anyone expects. Muriel and the others huddle around his bed, and one of the girls chirps that last night was great. Sure, that's not even close to the truth. They're really just grateful for the insane food he cooked, but the optics scream disaster, especially when Letty blurts that he stayed up all night and still managed to demolish 3 whole servings. Takaya is sinking under a wave of false accusations, and Letty keeps needling him as he scrambles to defend himself, panicking, because he can't stop imagining what Muriel will think. He knows if this keeps happening, Mario's son is definitely gonna get the wrong idea, so panic hits and he bolts out of the room, still wrapped in nothing but a towel. But his escape slams to a halt. He barrels straight into a small horned girl, eyes wide with panic. It's Mumaru, one of the 4 heavenly kings of the demon realm. She shuts out the whole awkward mess and clings to him, her eyes brimming with tears, then blurts out a desperate plea, "Takaya, come with me to the demon realm." Flashback time, Mamoru is in her element, shining as a heavenly king, just days into her new duties, and all she does is watch over her people. Her prized magic spear was just repaired by Takaya, and she's overflowing with gratitude. Honestly, she's so grateful it's starting to gnaw at her, like she can't breathe until she's properly thanked him. But just as she sinks into silence, a terrifying shadow slithers into view, her mother, the demon queen, and she snaps, asking why her daughter is wasting time instead of working. Then she goes straight for the truth. She feels that weak glow of holy sword human magic bleeding out of Mumuru's spear, and she fires off demands for answers. Mumuru tries to act clueless, but it's too late, she's caught. If her mother learns that she let a human repair a sacred demon weapon, she'll be killed. The queen's patience snaps. She slams Mumuru with a furious smack and snarls that the human who fixed her asterisk better be brought to her right now, asterisk. And that's why Mumuru is here, shaking with terror, because if she leads her mother to Takaya, he'll get executed on the spot. Right now in the present, Ikaya listens to her story, but his focus never leaves the danger, because in his head, Mumuru is still the #1 customer. Without even thinking, he steps in no-brainer. He declares he'll do it for Mumaru's sake, and she erupts with pure joy, then blurts that he's an absolute god. Yeah, but the rest of the guild isn't nearly as hyped. Right away, the vice chairman zeroes in and grills him like, "Are you out of your mind?" Because all he does is march straight into trouble. The guildmaster nods, because a skill as rare and priceless as Takaya's can't just be tossed into enemy territory. He respects Takaya's choice, but he won't let him march off alone. He decides to roll with a tiny elite escort, so no one notices him as they move. So now Akin has to step up and take over as receptionist, and the idea absolutely freaks her out. Mariel rushes in with a breathless apology. She can't make it. She's got to call a meeting of the Council of the 6 Sages. She decides to swap places with Mikkel and send a whole new, powerful mage in her stead. The 6 Sages, she makes it crystal clear, are the legendary mages who spearheaded humanity in the last great demon war, and this isn't some basic escort job anymore. It's an international-level mission. She shoves a letter into Takaya's hands, sealed tight with insane magical power, then tells him, if trouble hits, this thing will shoot back to me on its own after a set time. It's his emergency escape route. Miek won't be left behind, so he declares she'll be Takaya's bodyguard, and when the guild master sees how skilled his disciples have become, he's shocked, but with no other choice, he gives in and agrees. The vice chairman steps in too, ready to take the fall if nobody else does, and once the team is finally gathered, Mike braces as she's about to cast her spell. She rips open a swirling vortex of dark energy, and she screams, "Everybody hang on tight." In a blink, they get yanked through a burst of light. Boom, they're in the demon realm. A dead, jagged wasteland stretches under a choking dark sky, and the air feels poisonous. Mike tears off a cloth and shoves it into Akaya's hands, warning him that the miasma will kill humans. But Takaya isn't scared for a second. He stares that corrupting miasma down, and his fabricator mind starts buzzing with ideas like crazy, because he just loves building and creating. Their landing wasn't flawless. Meek had barely processed it before he realized the teleportation spit them out a little off target. They've touched down in another demon general's territory, and they're definitely not the only ones here. A pack of demons spots them and goes wide-eyed, because who lets humans roam their lands? For a brief moment, Takaya and the others slip by without a single glance. But that luck doesn't stick. Then a goblin-like demon spots them and yells that General Mamoru is here, with her human companion. Right away, the escort team erupts into action. Mikkels, Mamoru, and Takaya break ahead to carve out a safe path. A demon lunges in, barking that she's a little shit. Then Meek just smirks like she owns the night. Too bad, the demon snarls, blasting her with a furious storm of energy, and Meek fires back. "I'm not your little shit. I'm the nightmare your ancestors used to fear." They swat the danger aside with zero trouble, and before long, Takaya and Mumaru roll into her territory safe and sound. The local demons look tiny and childish, swarming together like wide-eyed kids as a human draws their attention, and you can tell they're miserable, coughing, and barely standing, wrung out by a nasty miasma that creeps through their own homes too. The kids are buzzing with curiosity, and one of them keeps needling Mumaru, asking all smugly if she's really bringing a man home. Mamoru tells them the miasma never really quits, it's always hanging around. Sure, most demons can burn it off, but the weaker ones can't fully cleanse it, and the kids, they just have to endure it, stuck living in nonstop misery. Staring at the sick kids, Takaya suddenly gets it. His job as one of the 4 heavenly kings isn't just for battle, it's for shielding people like them, so he turns to Mumaru and asks for some of their potatoes. He declares, loud and clear, that nobody should have to suffer just because of the way they were born. With his maker's instincts blazing, he turns purified potatoes into a quick, brilliant fix, a dust mask that filters the miasma like it's nothing. It's only a stopgap. He knows that if he wants this to last, he'll need someone with real production processing skills to mass produce it. Right on cue, Q2 strikes, maids burst in, shouting their names, Ramai and Yami, sent straight by Lady Azasha, the queen. They caught his idea mid-conversation, and good for him, because they've got the exact production skills he's been looking for. Takaya lays out his plan, and when they lock eyes, they realize it's not just possible, it's perfectly doable. They can make it work. With their help, they crank out a massive stockpile of miasma-filtering masks in no time. A young demon girl slips it on, and her eyes go wide as shock hits hard. For the first time, she breathes without pain, even in the safety of her own home, and the kids erupt in joy, finally and completely relieved from their nonstop suffering. One of the little girls is so thankful she plants a kiss on Takaya's cheek, and the second another girl sees it, jealousy ignites, and she starts trying to outdo her right away. With the kids finally safe, the whole crew charges toward the queen's castle, an enormous, jaw-dropping fortress that hangs in the sky like a nightmare. As they close in, Mumaru's nerves spike. She turns to her maids and asks if her mother is in a good mood, but their flat "not really" only makes her panic worse. Takaya tries to hype her up. No matter how intimidating her mom is, he's telling her, she can feel your sincerity. Now trust yourself. His inspiring speech gets cut off mid-sentence as a blur tears out of the castle entrance. Then the demon queen herself comes flying through, fast and furious. And she slams a brutal flying kick straight into her own daughter's face, knocking her sprawling to the floor. The queen hits the ground and explodes, screaming that she's late. Takaya can only freeze, stunned into total silence, because Wow, sensing her sincerity, was a total joke. Just as the reunion starts to warm up, a brutal figure lunges from behind and snatches Takaya, locking him in hostage grip. Takaya blurts out in relief, and before anyone can breathe, Mumaru crashes through a nearby window, spear in hand, looking like pure warrior empress. The woman gripping his attention snaps her name into the air like a command, Azasha, the former general of the succubi, and the real gut punch, she's Mumaru's mother. With a razor blade biting into her throat, Azasha glares at her daughter, while Takaya, trapped in the same nightmare, can barely contain his relief because Mumaru is alive and standing strong. Standing in the grand throne room, Azasha starts tearing into them with a fiery lecture, demanding to know why she, the most beautiful and powerful of her kind, would ever surrender the heavenly king's title to her own daughter. She tells him straight up that it was all for their people's sake, and admits Mamoru has raw talent to spare, the only one who can finally awaken the legendary magic spear's true power. But that respect instantly curdles into rage. Asasha slams her foot on the stone floor, cracks spidering outward as she unleashes on Mumaru for lying to her, shattering their tribe's sacred weapon, and worst of all, bowing to a mere human. Takaya tries to calm things down, telling her she's gone too far, but Asasha just scoffs and laughs like he can't possibly understand how succubi work. She snaps her rage back at Mumaru, pressing hard to know if she even grasps how deep her sins run, because she disobeyed her mother, and now she's defaced a priceless artifact. Mumaru finally snaps. She's done living by her mother's script, and with a brutal glare she raises her shattered spear at Asasha, shouting, "Hey, you shitty hag, get your hands off Master Takaya." Asasha's face crumples with raw disappointment. Mumaru fires back, "Touch Takaya-sama, and you're not my mother anymore." Asasha snarls that if she doesn't lead them, the succubi are finished, and the tension finally snaps, right as Mumaru lunges in to end this family feud once and for all. Then Takaya's voice cuts through the chaos. "Hold on." He shouts. Every head snaps to him when he drops the impossible, "I'll forge a brand new magic spear. That's the real reason he came here." Asasha snaps into wild laughter, because the idea is downright ridiculous to her. That spear is a priceless family relic, handed down for thousands of years, and this human kid really thinks he can just churn out a brand new one. She mocks him for acting like a kid, but then she steps forward and defends him, saying, cool as ice, that her production and processing skills are level 9. The laughter chokes out in Asasha's throat, because she knows Letty, the maid she raised, can't lie. And the moment Takaya comes into view, Asasha's whole vibe flips, replaced by a sharp, dangerous curiosity as she studies him. She lays down her rules. If he can forge a brand new magic spear, she'll wipe Mumaru's sins clean. If he fails, she'll put a blade through him herself. And with the whole world crushing his chest, Takaya meets her gaze and nods, taking the challenge head-on. As they stride out of the throne room, Takaya finally exhales a breath he didn't even know he was choking on, and when he admits how freaked out he'd been, Letty grins and praises his bluff, saying he's grown stronger enough now to hold his ground against Lady Asasha. The girls crowd around him, and Feria admits she had to lie through her teeth just to make it sound believable, while Letty can only grin because the guild is finally paying its taxes the right way. Takaya, meanwhile, locks eyes with Mumaru, who still looks shaken and worried. He leans in, tells her they'll beat this as a team, and begs for her usual smile to come back. Blushing, Mumaru hands him her castle and tells him to use it as his base of operations. She drags her shattered spirit up from the sky, screams, "Come forth, my castle," and the ground starts to rip and shake beneath them. Bone and Shadow Castle tears up out of the earth, towering and terrifying, while an army of skeletons and undead servants roars with joy at their master's return. Inside, the reception erupts in pure excitement. Her students chant her title as the idol of the demon realm, and one fired-up skeleton named Michael practically lunges in, waving a banner that welcomes her future husband. Right before he can get the word out, Mumaru snaps a flawless high kick and launches his skull through the air. Even with her cheeks burning, her servants can't ignore it. Now that Takaya's by her side, she looks genuinely, unmistakably happy. The other maids piled on the teasing, chanting for her to show her future husband the way, until a betrayed Mumaru finally shoved Takaya away and chased him off to get some rest. Later, the crew finally gets serious. Letty tells them that Takaya's got crazy potential, but his alchemy skill still isn't strong enough to forge that spear, not yet. She tells him the very first move: grab the core material dark matter, a crystallized chunk of the demon realm's raw magic. Then she watches as Takaya nods, already itching to start at the crack of dawn. As the night fades out, Letty and Feria can't help but roast Mumaru for how everyone ended up sleeping, sending them into a giggling tussle as they all headed off for bed. In the dead of night, Takaya jolts awake, and there's Mumaru, planted by his bed, staring him down like she's been waiting for this. Outside the window, her castle drifts in total silence through an alien, star-choked void. He jumps, then when she asks what's wrong, he blurts out a quick excuse. He has to find the bathroom, right now, and when she offers to walk him there, he politely but firmly shuts it down and refuses. He insists he can find it on his own, then bolts out of the room, desperate for a moment of peace alone. Before he can even catch his breath, he's already lost. Those castle corridors turn into a twisting maze that won't keep still, and there isn't a single clear way out. He grumbles that getting lost on the way back from the bathroom is pathetic. Then bam, he collides with a towering skeletal guard. He burst into a terrified scream, convinced a monster was on him. Then his gut dropped when he realized it was just one of Mumaru's guards out on patrol. The guard tells Takaya the castle was built like a maze to stop intruders, and it sounds genius, until Takaya asks for directions, and the guard has to spill an awkward truth. He's totally clueless too. Takaya pauses for a split second. Part of him remembers the old days when panic would have swallowed him whole. But this time, something bright sparks instead. Excitement, curiosity, and this wild feeling that he's finally leveling up into a cooler version of himself. And right as the thought sparks in his head, he catches his own feet, tumbles forward, and smashes his face into the hard stone floor. So much for looking cool. He scrambles to his feet, grateful nobody witnessed his humiliating slip. Then a calm voice ripples out of the shadows. "You're right, it'd be awful if the girl you like ever saw you." Takaya blurts out a shaky, nervous laugh, and the moment he does, it's clear he's been caught. He whips around to the voice, only to lock eyes with this bizarre, jelly-like slime, and there's even a glowing crystal lodged in its chest. "Who are you?" he blurts, heart hammering. The creature answers in the flattest monotone ever. "Me, I'm just a normal, unimportant slime." As Takaya scrambles to steady himself, a voice slices through the chaos. He whips around and freezes at a faceless humanoid slime standing there, and his brain basically short-circuits. The thing introduces itself as Mumaru-san, the very one who sent his invitation in the first place. Right before Takaya can even blink, a fresh voice shouts from nowhere, demanding to know what they're doing here. The slime Mumaru shoots the newcomer a dismissive glare, calling him a brat. Then it whips back to Takaya and invites him over, bragging that this crumbling ethereal castle is basically its own personal garden. They shove them into this huge study, packed wall to wall with books beneath a crescent moon, and Takaya out of his league. Yet the slime just shrugs and calmly says it wants some feedback. Because not a single human world guest has ever shown up before. Mumaru needs one thing from the humans, feedback on a brand new story idea, and he shoves a manuscript into Takaya's hands, basically asking, would a tale like this actually sell in the human world? It's shockingly tragic. This lonely demon king is born with mind-blowing talent, lets arrogance take the wheel, and conquers the world by terror, until hero after hero crushes his minions, and in the final fight he dies alone, with nobody left beside him. In his last breaths, regret crushed his soul. Then the next second, he woke up as a human baby in a brand new world. Mumaru leans in, demanding Takaya's take, but Takaya can't even process what's happening yet. Just as everything feels light and easy, Mumaru suddenly spots the clock, dawn's creeping in, and it's time to send Takaya off. As Takaya blurts out his thanks to Mumaru for that wild meeting, the whole study starts to violently rattle. No, it's not an earthquake, it's something far worse. Mamoru lunges at him, shouting that he can't return to his room because someone's hunting for him, and then right as the fear hits, the note promises, "If you make it out, I'll tell you who I am." With a final cryptic, "I'll see you around," Takaya Nagami watches the slime vanish. Then the world cracks open, and he tumbles through a collapsing space. He slams back into reality and lands right in front of the real Mamoru and Letty on the tower's top floor, right as the room turns into a disaster zone, and before he can even open his mouth to explain, the whole building erupts with massive explosions. Outside, winged demons swarm the sky and rain fire, blasting the tower apart. Mamoru gasps as she realizes it's already too late for her guards. Through the smoke and wreckage, a massive figure drops into the chaos, Reigu. He declares himself the Zanma Demon General, one of the 4 heavenly kings. Reigu lunges straight at Mumaru, sneers hard, and snaps that she's a red-headed monkey. Then he rips into her, blaming her for kicking off the Misfits movement, and demands why she's barging into his castle like this. Meanwhile, Letty leans in and confesses to the vice president that she was meant to zap Takaya with a memory-erasing potion, but she couldn't tell if he was still alive. Then she rushes to Mumaru and keeps apologizing like it's the only thing that can fix this mess. But Mumaru just lets out a heavy sigh, like it's all whatever, and yeah, this showdown was going to hit sooner or later. Right as the tension snaps, Rig cuts straight through it and makes his move. This isn't about land. He's after Mumaru herself, straight up declaring she'll be his bride, the general of the succubi. Takaya goes wide-eyed because it clicks. That undercover visit was a huge gamble, and it just exploded in their faces. Then Rig throws it out like a verdict. This is payback for the damage Mumaru's people have done. Mamoru's eyes snap to her, because the moment he says marriage, terror floods her face so fast it's like she can't breathe. Letty lunges forward on the spot, screaming that there's no way, because she knows this whole stunt is being set up by the demon Lord Zanma himself. Rigaskov starts smacking her for being a low-level demon, because she knows way too much. Seeing Mumaru's breaking spirit, Letty lunges in and hugs her tight, swearing right there that she'll guard her with her own life. With a piercing roar, Letty slams out her ultimate, Storm Helix, but Reigo just sticks out one hand and shuts the whirlwind down like it's nothing. But Reigo, he's on a whole different tier. He casually burns one of her succubi guards to nothing, then blasts dark energy and swats Letty aside, growling that she's never getting back in his way. Other demons surge in to swarm him, but every strike slips straight through his body. Meanwhile, he just exhales, utterly bored with the whole show. He smirks, clocking the moment their arrows should have nailed his vitals, yet they did nothing at all. Mamoru's eyes widen in terror when he realizes the truth. His invincibility is locked to his magic sword. Rieg lifts his blade, Bildringer, swings his focus straight onto Takaya, and declares him a human tainted by the demon world. Right when Rugu is about to land the hit, Mamoru snaps into action. Letty, get them to my mother, she orders, throwing herself between Rugu and Takaya refuses to walk away without her. But she flashes a sad smile, calming him, promising she won't die, while Rigo only has one thing in mind, her body. Then she yanks one of her horns free and hands it to Takaya like a gift, telling him to use it to forge a spear, one made for him, and once she's married to Reigo. Letty yanks Takaya by the arm, trying to pull him away as he bawls out Mumuru's name, like screaming at the world will somehow fix what's broken. Takaya gets crushed by pure helplessness, no talent, no skill, and none of the credentials to step in and save his friends when they need him most. In that dark, crushing second, something inside him finally breaks. He snatches Mumuru's hand, eyes blazing, and vows, I'm going to forge you a magic spear, Mumuru, because your gentle heart deserves it, and I swear I'll always be there for you. As Letty blasts them to safety, Rigo's rage-filled voice rips through the air behind them, screaming at her for slipping out alive. On their escape vessel, the succubus queen bears the brutal truth of politics, while the demon general has been waiting, day after day, for an opening just like this. She lays out the brutal, soul-crushing saga of the succubi, how other races preyed on them for centuries, year after year after year. She sparked a rebellion and carved out a kingdom where demons could finally breathe free, and she forged Mumaru to carry that dream forward. Akita Rigo finally drops his bombshell. His power is his sword, and he's got the perfect secret sauce. In Demon World customs, Mumuru's marriage won't be official until her succession ceremony, so she grabs a tiny window of time. She orders a fresh spear to be forged and delivered to Mumuru before it happens, one built to shut down Rigo's blade. The real trick, what his sword is made of, dark matter, a substance that vanished thousands of years ago. It's a legendary material, so invisible and weightless that it makes him untouchable, but there's a catch. Nobody on Earth knows how to melt or forge it, not even the demons. Right when it looks like all hope is dead, a voice suddenly crackles out of Michael's skull, because Takaya is gripping it. He tells them he might be able to help, saying his real body is actually tied to the spell guarding Mumuru. Letty can't help but doubt it. How on earth could a simple skull possibly help? With zero other choices left, Takaya and the crew bite the bullet and put their faith in him. And the queen looks Takaya dead in the eye, delivering one last terrifying warning. Now the fate of the whole succubi tribe rests on his shoulders. If Mumaru conceives Rigo's child, they're finished. Staring at the horn clutched in his hands, Bikea's resolve turns to steel, because he made a promise, and now he's ready to prove what he's made of. Amid the demon lord's crumbling castle ruins, the team hits a brick wall. Letty spins to Michael, the former demon general of murder, who's now just a talking skeleton, and demands he tell her anything he knows. But Michael is just as lost as everyone else. He knows the area, yet the damage has flipped the whole world upside down. They're hunting for someone who can sense what's invisible, and the moment they say it, every pair of eyes snaps to him, because if there's anything here that tugs at spirits, he's the one who will feel it first. Right now, Werg is riding around inside a cute, fluffy bunny plushie, and Diana can't resist calling his new form an adorable hobby, sending Werg into pure, furious annoyance. Right when the plushies twist into Werg's ugly little sneer, Diana jerks back in terror, because that sweet disguise finally cracks, and she knows her precious Diana has been hijacked by a spirit. They shake off the adrenaline and get back to work, firing off to Werg. Do you remember that hidden room from your old castle roamings? Because it's ancient, older than the demon's spear was ever forged. Werg, cheeks warm with embarrassment, blurts that he's hoping his old screw-up, getting lost, might finally pay off, and then he steps up with confidence and leads the way through the records. He leads them straight through the wreckage to one door that's somehow still standing, and he instantly clocks it as the slime's old study entrance. The moment they step in, dust and decay don't greet them. This place is spotless, and an elegant maid stands waiting. Her name's Mary, and her lord sent her here to guard this exact room. Letty snaps into defense, fists ready to fly, but Mary just grins, doesn't even flinch because she couldn't care less who they are, and her orders are crystal clear. She tells them straight up that it was her master who demanded she do this. And those orders were razor-specific, so when the human, Nagumi Takaya, shows up, you drop everything and back him all the way. Takaya and the others freeze in shock, because this whole thing was straight from the slime's playbook. Mary throws her hands wide and grandly invites them into the underworld archive. Before them sprawls a massive, endless library, every scrap of underworld history, all under one roof. Takaya just stares, stunned. This kind of hidden trove, buried under the ruins, is way bigger than anything he ever dreamed existed. Without wasting a second, he storms up and demands from Mary whether the archive holds anything on the demon spear tripod art, especially the hammer and the forging manuals used to craft it, because he's convinced those tools can help him recreate Mumaru-san's spear. While he scrambles through the chaos on those shelves, he can't stop thinking, why would Mary's master let him place a potential enemy right in the middle of all this? Mary's response comes out cryptic, like a dead soul still whispering her master's words from beyond the grave, and she draws a line in the sand. It's not fair to pick one side and crush the rest. Takaya feels it, there's a deeper game spinning here, and this master knows the real secrets of their world, but he shoves that worry down for now, because saving Mumaru is the only thing that matters. Before long, they track it down, the full, detailed forging process for the tripod arc. Takaya's stunned, because the instructions are so precise they hit him with this weird, familiar feeling. But right as they kept reading, a brutal roadblock slammed into them, one missing key ingredient, the breath of an undead dragon. Letty's color drains from her face as she explains those aren't just monsters. They're treated like natural disasters, mindless weapons of mass destruction that once wiped out entire city-states. They're the reason the underworld built fortified city-states in the first place, leftover scars from an era when everything was chaos and survival was the only law. The moment the impossible task finally sinks in, the archive erupts with a deafening roar. An undead dragon has materialized right outside, like it heard every word. Letty knows it. There's no escape now. She has to fight. A colossal beast towers over them, its towering silhouette carved from bone and dripping with necrotic power. Takaya grips the letterhead Ever gave him, a magical teleportation device meant for emergencies, built to rip him out of the underworld. And yeah, this is exactly that kind of moment. A brilliant plan sparks in an instant. Letty will yank the dragon's attention, while Takaya slips in and plucks the pilot light from its throat with a special bottle from Mary, because the moment the dragon unleashes that thick, rotting poison mist, one breath could end them. Then Deanna throws up cover, and they all surge forward, while Takaya shoots Werg a quick apology for the danger, promising a massive hug the second they make it home safe. The tension is choking the air, and Letty knows they can't stall. She needs that dragon to unleash its breath attack so they can snatch the... Suddenly, Takaya snaps to a halt. Pain bites the side of his neck. His whole body goes numb. Then he realizes it was just one mosquito. That's it. Then he finally sees it, an avalanche of insects, blanketing the sky around the dragon, and that's the real nightmare. The demon's biggest edge, their brute power and speed, gets crushed by a paralyzing poison that turns that whole insect curtain into instant doom. Now that the swarm has hatched, there's no getting close anymore. The whole quest feels doomed before it even starts. But Takaya isn't some ordinary maker. He's a guy ripped out of another world, and while the demons swear he's unbeatable, he's already sizing up the whole problem like pest control, grinning as he tells them his plan. Use a human world item to stab straight into the poison's blind spot. He yanks out his lunchbox, and there it is, a poisonous mushroom he's been keeping tucked away, and it almost killed Mike once, but now he's been grinding away at an antidote, so he's basically got the exact key ingredients to forge a deadly pesticide. The plan is dead simple. Use the vice president's wind magic to blast the concoction into nothing, then, right as the undead dragon charges in, bellowing and roaring for those insects to come at it. Michael's crown, where his main consciousness lives, booms, pushing him to work, and the possessed bunny plushie rockets into the air, screaming, "You puny insects." He rockets toward the dragon, battle cry blasting from his lips, "Our idol, the enchantress forever." Oh, he's gearing up to throw everything he's got into this fight for Mumaru-san. Takaya flings the bottle of makeshift pesticide up into the air and roars at everyone to smear it on themselves. Right there, he explains exactly why he serves a human. For moments like this, his wildly brilliant, completely unorthodox thinking is unstoppable. The pesticide mist blooms across the air, and the hit is instant. Swarms of mosquitoes rain down from the sky, dropping like it's the end of the world. A clear path opens, and the demons freeze, staring in disbelief as awe hits them, because that boy just became a fabricator and flipped the entire battle on its head. Now that the path's clear, the demon girls slam the gates wide and unleash pure chaos. Ramai locks in and blasts a razor-focused beam of dark energy. Yami unleashes a storm of enchanted arrows that slice through the air, swirling with the wind like they're alive. Ferris yanks a colossal ghostly crossbow into existence, the Ferris Ballista, and lets loose a towering bolt of pure energy. The blade cut a clean line straight through the dragon's bony skeleton. Now it's their turn. Diana braces into guard mode, vowing to shield Takaya with her life, while Letty dives in to land the final, game-ending move. She rockets forward, counting down, 1, 2, until she's closing in on the beast's roaring mouth. On 3, she drives the bottle straight down the dragon's throat, and right on cue it erupts, necrotic flame flooding everything in sight. The heat hits like a concussive blast, and Takaya and Diana scramble to shield themselves. Takaya lets out a harsh grunt as the explosion slams into him with brutal force. The bloody figure yanks herself back, her armored gauntlet gripping a bottle that's now blazing with light. Deep inside the dragon's breath, the pilot light churns like a storm, trapped power spiraling wildly. They did it. Undead Dragon Breath's pilot light is finally in hand. Someone yells in pure relief. Then Letty swoops in and pats the exhausted Takaya on the head, smiling hard. "You did great, Takaya-sama. We'll handle the rest from here." Clutching the precious prize in both hands, Takaya stares toward the horizon, his resolve hardening like steel. "Mumuru-san, just give me a little more time." Back at the workshop, Deku keeps his hands steady as he tends to Takaya's injured hand, and the fresh bandages scream how brutal this quest has been. Yet every time she tries to help, Takaya can't help but grimace through the pain. Even with the injury screaming at him, his thoughts are miles away. He waves off the pain like it's nothing next to what Mumaru's going through, but his hand throbs anyway, and he knows swinging that hammer like this is going to be brutal, maybe even impossible, all by himself. But he's not fighting this solo. When they see him struggling, the girls rush in. Letty and the others slam their hands on that giant forging hammer, swearing they'll bring the raw strength, and all Takaya has to do is steer the. Ramai and Yami peer over from the side, and Yami sneers, saying a blacksmith who can't even swing his own hammer is a total joke. Ramai brings a whole new angle. These aren't the prideful demons from the old days. They'll swallow embarrassment, roll with the chaos, and do anything they have to just to survive. And right now, nothing matters more than helping Mumaru. Every single one of them locks eyes with determination, and the whole crew rallies together, fired up and ready to take on the impossible. Takaya yanks out a bottle of molten, white-hot metal, no joke, because it's the big version of shirigane, the special forging technique Akin taught him. He yanks the stopper off and floods the anvil with that blazing liquid. Boom. It erupts into a brutal furnace of pure energy. This is their instant forge. The whole team crowds around that gigantic, pitch-black hammer packed with dark energy. Then each of them clamps onto a spot on the handle, one massive cheer, and they yank it overhead before slamming it down with earth-shaking power. The blast hits like a godless thunderclap, blasting dark matter tendrils in every direction. Takaya's face twists in pure agony as the strain forces him beyond his breaking point, and right when he's about to crumple, the others yell at him to rest, their power teaming up to pin the hammer in place. This isn't just Takaya's fight anymore. Seconds later, the forging is done. 3 wicked prongs of a spear sit on the anvil, radiating raw power as it cools. The whole team erupts in cheers, chanting it's the trident of revenge for Rigu, until Takaya casually strolls over, grabs the masterpiece, and flings it straight into a bubbling pool of dark matter, like it's nothing but trash. While everyone gawks in shock, he just flashes a smile, because the blueprint worked and the method actually works. Now he'll run it again and again until his blacksmithing hits its peak, not chasing one perfect weapon, but cranking out prototype after prototype to level himself up. As he grinds through the work, his mind rips back through everything, betrayed and dumped by his old party, then saved by Merle, hammered through brutal training under Lady Ever, learning the forge craft from Akin, and hauling materials alongside Mickey. Deku seals up his arm, Maryu mends what's left of his soul, then it hits him like lightning. Every person, every brutal trial he survived was a piece of the puzzle, and all their support forged him into the man he is now, because that power is surging straight into his final creation. He raises the real final product in triumph, a spear that sparkles with everyone's hopes who stood by him, and when Takaya gets asked what he'll name it, he locks eyes with his friends and blurts out the declaration, Triaval. The girls stare at the weapon in awe, calling it downright beautiful, and you can tell his naming sense finally caught up with how deadly he's gotten. Right as their victory hits peak joy, everything gets yanked away, because a letter just dropped in from Demon General Zanma. It's an invitation to the night's ritual, wrapped in a sharp, thin threat, because today is the succubus princess's last day. That condescending tone lights a fuse in their chests, but Takaya just clamps down on his brand new spear, a cold, grim smile cracking across his face. He'll never forgive them, but he can't deny their timing is spot on. The spear's ready. The girls steal a quiet moment together, staring at their reckless, shameless human. Sure, he's trouble all right, but he's also the key to the succubus race's future, and yeah, they're all already hooked on him. With their grit forged into steel, they stand shoulder to shoulder. Okay, no more waiting. Time to storm in and rescue Mumuru. Right when they start heading out, one of the maids snatches the memo from Takaya's hand and slips him a message from her master, short, sharp, and basically, good luck trying to win. The story cuts to a gigantic, intimidating coliseum, right where the ritual is about to kick off. Inside, Mamoru is chained to the wall, totally crushed, while a hulking guard stands over her like a nightmare about to. He tells her to quit wearing that sad face. Bearing a child for Lord Rigu is an honor meant to prove her loyalty to every demon. He snarls and dares her to follow along, because if she won't comply, he'll make her smile anyway. A familiar voice suddenly slices through the air, yelling her name. Mamoru's head jerks up, eyes going wide with shock and hope. He stands at the arena entrance, and the whole crew grips the high stakes around Mamoru. It's me, I brought your spear. He yells, and a tearful smile explodes across her face. I knew you'd come. Their reunion gets yanked to a stop when Reigu himself shows up, smirking as he tells Takaya he's got courage, because unlike those loud humans, he's used. Then he turns to Mumuru and sneers that their last fight was a total farce, because she was unarmed, and with a grand, arrogant flourish, he has his guards, trio of best fighters, vault straight to her, boasting that this wedding will now be etched into legend as a battle every citizen will come running to witness. He sneers and snaps at Mumaru to ignore every word, then the filthy demon mouths off like it owns the place. Takaya strides up to Mumuru, and she turns bright red with joy. "Oh, Mr. Takaya, I missed you," she breathes. He leans in, eyes dead serious. "Mumuru, forgive me for what I'm about to do. This is for the plan." Right there in front of Reigu and the whole demon army, he goes and kisses her, and the world stops. Every demon, every girl, even Reigu, just freezes in total stunned silence. As Mumaru is left reeling, Takaya leans in and slips the details of his plan straight into her ear. The demon crowd erupts in disgust, and Rigu's face contorts into a full-on rage mask. He's sure the human world has poisoned his bride-to-be. But once Mumuru finally gets the plan, she jumps into action, tears pouring down her face as she sobs. "No, my love, Takaya, don't do it." Akin strides up and jabs her finger at Rigu, yelling, "This time I won't lose. You're not strong or smart. You're a coward and all you do is scheme." Rigu bursts into laughter, arrogance swallowing his judgment. "You think we're equals just because your spear's planted." Then he raises 3 fingers like a vow carved in fire. "I'll smash your spear 3 times. But as he blurts out his declaration, Mamoru, lurking behind Takaya, smirks like she already knows the punchline. Rigu just walked straight into their trap, and now it hits. What? Then snap, we get a quick flashback. The team huddles up, swapping battle plans, and the girls stare at Takaya like, no way, because his reckless courage feels like love straight up fueling him. But Takaya's face turns grim. Still, he admits Mumaru would get crushed by Reigu in a straight-up brawl. Then he whips around to the 2 people who have got the key to winning. Ramai, Yami, right. The 2 maids stare back at him with faces carved out of stone, dead serious, because they instantly get what Takaya's hinting. If he wants to win, they need something even bigger than that. With the tournament crumbling, Takaya's face tightens, then it hits him, all at once. That awful feeling he'd been carrying finally clicks into place. This whole conflict kicks off, and when he speaks, quiet, steady, it's like every single move is falling right into Ryujin's plan. He stares those loyal maids dead in the eyes, and his accusation slices through the air, sharp, unshaken. Ramai and Yami, they were spies tied to Reigu from the very beginning. The puzzle pieces finally snap together. "Listen," he says, then he digs into the suspicious stuff. "We got ambushed at Ms. Reddy's so-called secret transfer spot, and that brand new spear shattered way too easily." Then during the crafting process, the truth finally hit, hard and undeniable. With a cocky smirk, Takaya remembers that moment of clarity. He knew his own production skills were crazy strong, but even for him, that spear should have taken way longer. "I was still leveling up, way beneath my real potential, and I just knew it was going to take me forever to finish." And somehow, he claims, the spear got finished in the blink of an eye, right as Reigu's wedding invitation landed in hand. That wasn't fate, it was a trap. While everyone else was hammering away on the spear, Takaya ripped open the trader's method. Meanwhile, Ramai and Yami quietly poured their massive production skills into the mix, pushing for a breakneck finish. But they didn't just help, they sabotaged it, rigging the spear so it would snap after only a few hits, and he goes on to explain how they pulled off a loud, vulgar victory for Rigu. The other girls just freeze in shock, plotting a scheme this twisted against their own queen feels flat out impossible. But Takaya makes it clear, this wasn't about tricking the queen face to face. Their real motive was way darker, fueled by a warped pride and pure, desperate need. Back in the arena, Rigu cracks up like the whole thing is settled. "Your scheme got exposed by that boring kid." Takaya mocks Mumaru, and yeah, I hate humans a little too much. Mamoru clenches her now tainted weapon and growls, "Tell me why. Why would he smash that fragile bridge between their worlds and set off a brand new war?" Rigu grins like a predator, easy, cruel, and calm, as his voice drips pure contempt. Because our whole race started fading into weakness. He explodes into a non-stop tirade, painting a lost age like it's right in front of him. He's begging to restore our ancestors by following their natural roles, and then he roars, demanding we rebuild the military and unleash the technology again. He lays it all out, one brutal caste system, where the sharp, strong demons seize power through sheer courage, while the succubi get shoved into nothing but housebound roles. But you wiped out that whole system, and that one decision was the fatal mistake. With fanatics' fire blazing in his eyes, he vows to drag back the great days of hell, back to that crushing, oppressive order. Reddy can only stand on the sidelines and stare, or risk it all and stare down a mask of horror. Mamoru isn't impressed. She scoffs like, "You think someone like you can run the country? Your strength is nothing but inherited decoration from your parents." But Rigu is off the charts, pure zeal and pure mission. "I don't care what a succubus thinks of me," he roars, slamming into battle mode because his only goal is to carve the name Rigu into history, and this fight is step one. He barrels forward, but Mumaru clocks it instantly. "You're so full of yourself." She spots two openings, and you've left two chances for attack. That's where you mess up. Her move is dead simple. Break the spear before he can even claim victory. She shoots forward like a lightning strike, a blur of pure momentum. She swung her weapon with everything she had. But Regu is a force of pure destruction. He swats the attack away with zero effort and blasts her backward hard. Then he sneers as a first crack spiders across the weapon's shaft. "You've got one shot left, and that's it." Reddy strides right up to the traitors and grabs them head-on. "Ramai Yami, tell me why you betrayed the succubi." So the two maids don't deny it. They spit the truth with faces twisted by resentment and heartbreak, saying their craft is so good it rivals the queen and princess, but their world chains them to the maid life with zero way up and no future waiting. "Why do we have to carry society's weight?" She snaps, voice shaking with anger she won't let out. Future queen or not, she's stunning, but it's all a trap. There's nothing good waiting for us. Their biggest terror, their children. "We can't let our kids grow up as maids," they plead. "We just have to keep saying it. We confess, we confess." If Breedy listens, her face softens for a breath, then steals right back up as she gets it again, and I can tell it weighs on her. She admits it's rough, remembering how fiercely they once served the queen. The maids spill Rigu's offer, and it hits perfectly with the power they'll wield in his brand new world order. Radi's eyes crackle with fury as she screams, "You picked the wrong path. Do you really think the country gets stronger by shutting down the war?" Then her voice slices through the air. "Because of you, the future of every succubus gets cut short." With tears burning in her eyes, Rady tells them she still believes in their true leader, Asterisk, and she swears the outcome you want is Asterisk Princess Mamoru. Mamoru inherited Queen Azasha's strength, her own kindness, and even the maid's raw potential, and she's got every piece the future of the succubi will need. Redy's voice thunders with unbreakable pride as she cares for the master who carries my dream. That's her maid pride, and she'd give her life for it, so wake up, Redy. Her words blast straight into the arena. Mamoru's down, and Regu looms over her with a vicious sneer. A total letdown, but then the real question hits. What can she possibly do now? But then something sparks inside the princess, rage and resolve exploding at once, so she screams in defiance, hauls herself up, and charges one final time. She swings again and slams into the re-angled blocks. With a sickening crack, it rips apart and explodes into 1,000 pieces. Regu towers over the disarmed princess, triumphant, and he smugly lectures that a succubus can't outmatch a demon, like his own ideology is getting him drunk. So let the demons take over the world, and keep your head down in the shadows. But he's made a deadly mistake. He smashed her weapon, yet her spirit doesn't even crack. Mumuru shakes with fear, but she stares him down, unwavering, right in the eye. "I'll keep fighting," she snarls, her voice torn raw with power. "Our succubi lives aren't meant to be held back." The final battle for the demon throne kicks off. Rigu, in his terrifying winged beast form, towers over Mumuru and sneers at her weakness, then vows that after he crushes her, she'll be nothing but his puppet, a tool for the demons. Mumuru makes one last, desperate sprint for her life. But he's a general for a reason. He slams straight into her assault, and when their weapons crash, the air itself explodes around them. The hit lands with a brutal roar, blasting shock waves across the Colosseum, yet neither side budges even a single step. From the sidelines, Takaya's friends huddle tight, eyes locked, fear creeping up their faces, because right now everything rides on Mumuru nailing this, step for step, exactly like the plan. Then boom on the third clash, a brutal crack tears through the arena, and Regu's legendary weapon shatters into pieces right in front of everyone, leaving the crowd and even his own men frozen in stunned silence. Regu just laughs it off, then smugly declares he's the winner, like he's been orchestrating this whole thing from the start. But right in the middle of his victory speech, everything gets yanked away. He stares down, baffled, as a vile, corrosive darkness crawls up his arm, and he's left totally clueless about what's happening. But Takaya knew. Then the story flashes back to a warehouse scene, where he cracks it all together. Reigu's weapon, the Devil's Ringer, and its real power, to swallow the miasma and fuel itself with whatever strength its opponent throws at it. That's why Rigu was so fearless. Every time Mumaru threw down, he got stronger instead, ripping through the fight with near-immortal regeneration. This secret trump card was built to make his own brotherhood fall in line. So Takaya cooked up a genius countermeasure. He had Ramai and Yami tuck a tiny hidden crack into the spear, made to snap it cleanly after the third hit. And that still wasn't the end. Takaya went in for the deadliest last strike, slipping the weapon's core with a human world poison strong enough to nearly kill Mike. Then he scrubbed it on as thick as he possibly could. Right now, Rigu is fighting for breath as poison rips through his veins. He bellows in pure rage, then lets the shattered, cursed remains of his weapon fall to the ground. His loyal yet clueless men explode into cheers, convinced their king is still unstoppable, even without his weapon. But Mumaru's face turns cold and locked in, because the real fight is starting right now. She doesn't even flinch. Reg stumbles, and she's already on top of him in a flash. He swings wildly, but she slips under his arm like she's done it 1,000 times, then drives a fist straight into his gut. But the hit lands like a nightmare. Reigu doubles over and roars, wrecked by pain and still totally in shock. The impact slams him back, and Takaya and the others can only stare as their plan clicks into place flawlessly. He coughs and clutches his stomach, utterly stunned as her raw power hits like a wrecking ball. The crowd is screaming like the world's ending. How is King Rigu getting outmatched by the succubus princess in a contest that's supposed to be all about raw strength? Rigu, pride in ruins, jerks back to his feet with a maniac grin and demands a fight to the death, but Mumaru's done with his game. She gives him a calm, sorry no, and crushes the whole idea. She doesn't reach for a weapon. She whips out a crumpled piece of paper instead. It's the exact plan Takaya wrote for her, and this was never just about winning a fight. Demon General Zenma Reigu throws her voice across the whole demon realm. You'll be judged by the law, and Reigu's face twists in raw, stunned disbelief because she has totally outplayed him. Suddenly, the whole world around Reigo twisted out of shape. He's gone, teleported out of the arena and dumped into an opulent hall, where a squad of absurdly powerful women surround him, cackling as they roast him to pieces. He's clueless where he even is, but the next thing he knows, someone drags him to the royal capital, 6 ages deep. Thanks to Takaya's students spilling the whole coup, they already know every last detail, and they can't stop mocking him, calling his rebellion pathetic. A rank, cheap demon stench, one of them, snarls as it slithers through their air. The Princess Knight, this woman, steps forward like the moment is hers alone, ready to carry out his sentence. Even now, pinned in a corner by forces too vast to understand, Rigu's arrogance refuses to die. He roars that he'll wipe them all out, no mercy. But his threats don't land, because the sage stays calm, recites his crimes against the ceasefire, and condemns him for sparking civil war. The verdict hits: death. When death hits, Rigu completely snaps. He erupts into a pathetic screaming rant, yelling that they should be cleaning dishes and raising kids instead of acting like they can control him. He can't wrap his head around it. Why is nobody listening, and why won't they just let him go? The sage he's yelling at just takes a calm sip of her tea, completely unimpressed. Then she goes, "Ah, sorry, I wasn't listening." And with one final snap, his screams are cut off for good. Back in the arena, Mumiru steps in front of the silent demon army and declares it: Demon General Reigu is dead. Takaya stares ahead, nerves clawing at him, because this second is pure danger. If the crowd riots, it's over for everyone. Mamoru looks them in the eye and calls them leaders, not conquerors. She vows that not every demon is a monster, promises a future where they'll all stand as equals, and tells them to mourn, stay patient, and wait for a new leader to be chosen. When the crowd finally scatters, you spot a whole fleet of ships roaring off at once. Like the universe is screaming, the fight is done. At the top of the stairs, Mumaru gets greeted by her mother, the former succubus princess, and her mom admits it. Mumaru has truly earned her place among the 4 heavenly kings by shutting down Reigu's deadly scheme. She gives her daughter a proud, knowing look, like she sealed the deal for this new position for good. Of course, her friends swooped in, dragged her back to reality, started fighting over who did what, and hammered home that human help was the only thing that really mattered. In a calm moment with her mom, Mamoru finally blurts out the truth. She used to hate the whole idea of being a princess because it felt annoying and it hurt so much. But the moment she stepped into the human world, everything shattered and rebuilt. Every person she met showed her the weight of the throne, and now she's done waiting. She'll take it herself, because those ancient rules won't stop her from marrying the one she loves. With her resolve steeled to stone, she whips around to Ramai and Yami and declares their punishment for betrayal execution. Her mother watches, swallowing the bite of the cold necessity and accepting what has to be done. Two maids stand stone still, holding their breath as fate creeps closer. But Takaya steps in, eyes locked on Yami, and fires off one simple question. You two promised you'd help me make the kids' masks, right? So was this another lie? Did the children mean nothing to you? Yami shuts it down with a solid, noble answer. With a tearful, bittersweet smile, she admits that her hunger to build things that could save lives was born straight from her heart. She can't stop replaying it. If they'd run into him sooner, maybe everything would have turned out different. Her sister jumps in and tells their mom not to worry. Yami's just talking, she insists, but somehow you can still tell every word lands hard. Later, they throw a massive party to celebrate their victory. Loud music, wild cheers, the whole night lit up. The vibe's cheerful as Berea beams and shows off her fresh new stuffed animals, a potato and a bunny. Meanwhile, the maids won't let up. They tease a red-faced Takaya nonstop about that kiss he just shared with the princess. He fired the question at him, so who was better, and do you want to do it again? Overwhelmed to his core, he bolts from the scene, blurting that he has to rush to the restroom. He steps out into the room, strolling down the hall, then spots a lone figure looming in the distance. It's Mumaru's mother, her hands drip with fresh blood, and she spits out ice cold that she personally killed the two maids, raising them since they were kids like it was her duty. She stares at Takaya, her eyes hollow as winter, then says, "One day, Mamoru's gentle hands will stain with blood. Now teach me, human." She demands to know what's the point of chasing an ideal, when all it leaves behind is this brutal, grim reality. Takaya's answer is simple, but it hits hard. "My processor," he says. "I picture exactly what I want, then I build it." As long as he can dream it up, there's nothing he can't build. He whips around to face her and declares, stone cold certain, that Mumaru is doing exactly that, building the very future she's been dreaming of. Right on cue, Mamoru calls his name, and he's practically bursting with curiosity, ready to learn more. No way he's backing down. Akaya just flashes that smile, and you can tell his faith in their shared future is ironclad, absolute, unbreakable, end-to-end. Nobody noticed, but a slime creature suddenly slips out of the shadows, quietly pulling strings and setting up major moments behind the curtain. It handed Takaya the Hell Warehouse, shoved the coordinates for the 6 ages meeting into his hands, and even escorted a dragon zombie to stir up a perfect distraction. Even with all that help stacked behind him, Takaya's plan had just a 10% shot at working, and somehow, he still pulled it off. The slime suddenly shifts into Chicha-chan, the elf girl, so what's it really asking for? Maybe it's begging us to hand this world to him.